Hey group leader, Pastor Luke here, and super excited as we continue this journey together, becoming the best group leaders that we can be. In this session, we're going to be talking about how do we handle tough people. And there's a number of different tough people, but sometimes that's going to require some tough love from us, some tough questions, some candor tempered in love. And so with that, let's dig in. Now, when I think of tough people, there's three different categories that I will often group people into. The first one is participation. You've got those on either side of that category there. The person who's going to talk too much, the person who is like not going to want to participate at all. And sometimes you even wonder, why do you continue to come to my group? And so setting expectations for both of those people are going to be a really big deal. But again, you're going to be like the referee who's there making sure that people are participating in discussion accordingly for that. And sometimes you just need to have the conversation with somebody to say, hey, I really need you to give somebody else an opportunity to talk. Other times you might say, somebody give me an answer to this that isn't, and name the person who's always giving the answer right there. The person who feels like they have to be right, or they need you to know they know the answer. And a lot of times these people actually make great candidates to come alongside you to be an assistant leader. And by you just cueing them in a little bit more of where it is that you're heading, get them on board to help you get there as well. Now, the person who doesn't talk a lot or doesn't like to participate, maybe more introverted, for this person here, give them expectations for how much you want them to participate in your group. So let them know, hey, on the front end, I would like to let you know one update about your life. And then let them know, hey, while we're doing discussion time, if you feel like you've got an answer, please try to speak up just once. But then to let them know on the back end, would love to know how we can be praying for you, or maybe what a next step for you would be this week. And man, if you would just say three things in our group: one life update, one time introduce yourself into the discussion that we're having, and then on the back end, let us know something you're looking to do this week, that would be amazing. Now, another category of people who can be tough to deal with is theology. Maybe you've got somebody who has a pet theology that they always like to try to bring up and so forth. Having personal conversations with those people is always a really, really practical thing, and the rest of your group is going to be really glad to hear that. Other times, when you know that you're going to enter into some theological territory like that because of what your study is, acknowledge it on the front end, and to be able to set some ground rules for how it is that you want to discuss that. Now, the other thing is, you might have somebody with poor theology who just hasn't thought through things, and they're interjecting in just what they think from their own experience. And with those people right there, it is best to lovingly, directly address what it is that they're talking about. And one of the best ways you can do this is by just pointing back to the individual study that you're on, and to say, hey, where do you see this idea in what we're discussing right now? And so as they're able to unpack that, then you can get to kind of the root of what it is that they're discussing, and to be able to cut it off right there so that there isn't any false teaching that's happening in your group. And so the rest of your group, again, if they have an idea that somebody is speaking out of line in this area, they're looking to you to be able to address that so that you can continue to move on together. And sometimes when you get into that, if it is back and forth at all, my biggest instruction to you would be to say, hey, you know what, let's discuss this a little bit more after group, and let's continue to move on. Again, setting your agenda time beforehand so that everybody knows what to expect throughout your group time is going to be very beneficial in allowing you to set that boundary and to tell people, hey, let's continue to discuss this another time because we've already agreed that this is how we're going to spend our time during this group session. And then the last category for people that can be tough to deal with is your spiritually stuck person, who is oftentimes even maybe spiritually apathetic. They feel like they're not growing, they're just going through the motions. And when it comes to these people right here, sometimes helping them be obedient and getting a win in one area of their life can help rekindle a flame across other areas. But it can be difficult sometimes to help them identify where it is that came from. However, helping them identify a simple next step to start getting a win for them, to be able to acknowledge that God is moving in my life and he still wants to do something. He's not done with me yet. That is where you get to step in as the shepherd to help identify those things. Take it to the Lord in prayer, and then from that, take it to them with a couple of options and say, hey, which one of these areas might be a good next step for us to focus on? And then hold their hand to help them get that win in that first area there. And then agree with them on that, and agree with God that he's not done with them yet. And you're going to have to believe on their behalf a lot of the times for that. But by them being there, God's not done with them yet. And so he's going to use you and your leadership to help get them unstuck. But you have to continue to believe it. And so the spiritual expectation that you bring into that will oftentimes pay huge dividends. Now, the last thing in this session as we think about dealing with tough people is again to acknowledge that you are not alone as you lead a group with these people. And having others around you as an assistant leader, as other pastors, or even as group coaches is going to help you feel like I don't have to do this by myself. And you need to continue to acknowledge that. First, it's going to bring you maybe to a point of desperation where you want to ask God to help move, which is where you need to start. However, as you continue to bump up against the same thing, whether it's somebody continuing to be negative, you can't get somebody to talk, you can't get somebody else to stop talking, somebody continues to bring up the same wrong theology, or you just find that they're just stuck, reach out for help. Other group leaders will have gone through something similar. And in fact, other group leaders maybe have had that same person in a group before, to where they are going to be able to help you know what it is that they've tried and what worked and didn't work to help you set up for that. And so as we continue to dig into the activities for this session here, I want to say thank you so much for continuing to invest in these people who can be tough. Oftentimes, when we go to these people in love and we have these direct conversations with them, your relationship with them is going to strengthen, and God is going to use that in a mighty way. Keep up the good work.